Hi, my name is Ling Shen from NDM1.
Hello, my name is Anjuni and I'm from NDM1.
Hi, my name is Jin Hui Jin from NDM1.
Hi, my name is Wang Xiyang.
Good afternoon, my name is Cha Yushen.
My name is Chen Jianwei.
Hi, my name is Heng Jingzi.
Corruption is when people in power use their position for personal gain, ignoring the needs of the people they are meant to serve. It's not just about breaking rules, it's about betraying trust and putting personal interest above the public good. Corruption can make everyday life harder for ordinary people, from poor school and hospital to broken roads and wasted resources. Common form of corruption include bribery, paying or receiving favors for influence, embezzlement, stealing public money, nepotism, favoring friends of family for job or benefits, fraud and extortion. This action may seem distant or political, but their effects are felt by everyone in society. A clear example is the case of Ferdinand Marcos, former president of the Philippines. From 109,065 to 199,086, Marcos and his family were accused of stealing billions of dollars for a government with many Philippines live in poverty. After he was removed from power during the People Power Revolution, the government set up the Presidential Commission on Good Government (PCGG) to recover the stolen wealth. The Marcos case shows how corruption can impact real lives and why holding leaders accountable is so important.
So now let me start for the case background and key individuals. Ferdinand Marcos was the president of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986. His government first focused on development, but later became known for corruption and authoritarian rule. The corruption involved his family members, political, military officials, and business partners. And also, Imelda Marcos was involved to oversee spending and financial activities. So for the slide 2. So what happened and abuse of power? For the first one, nature of corruption and abuse of power. The corruption mainly happened in the Philippines during Marcos' rules from 1965 and 1986. In 1972, Martial Law was declared which gave Marcos more political power, and the public money was transferred into the private account and offshore companies. So the government contract and business opportunities were given to close allies and families members. So for the next one, slide 3, the outcome and the timeline was like exposure and outcome, economic problems and public dissatisfactions increased in the early 1918. And also in 1986, the People Power revolutions forced Marcos to leave the country and go into the exile. So after that, investigations were started to cover the stolen assets. And the timeline is, in 1965, Marcos became the president, and in 1972, Martial Law was declared, and 1983, Benigno was assassinated. And so for the last one, 1986, People Power revolutions and removed the Marcos from power. Thank you.
And now, me and my friends will talking about the content. I will explain the major offenses committed by Ferdinand Marcos during his presidency from 1965 to 1986. And this offenders can be divided into four main categories. The first one is abuse of political power. In 1972, Marcos declared martial law. This gave him extraordinary power to control the country, and he suppressed political opponents, control the media, and remove legislative oversight because power became highly centralized and there was very little accountability. As a result, corruption such as bribery, intimidations, and abuse of authority become widespread. This seriously damaged democracy and violates citizens' rights. And the second one is embezzlement of public fund. Marcos was accused of transferring billions of dollars to public money into personal Swiss bank account, shell company, and overseas property. Money that should have been used for healthcare, education, and infrastructure was diverted for personal enrichment. And this action violates the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practice Act and the revised penal code. The impact was severe. The economy declined, poverty increased, and public service deteriorated. So the third one is nepotism and cronyism. Marcos strengthened his control through nepotism and cronyism. Family members and his close allies were appointed to important government and business positions. For example, Imelda Marcos held significant political influence. Government contracts and state resources were often given to loyal supporters without transparency. This reduced accountability and encouraged further corruption. So the last one is money laundering and excess consumption. To hide illegally obtained wealth, Marcos and his family transferred money to offshore accounts and purchased luxury assets abroad. Due to international banking secrecy at that time, it was difficult to trace this fund. Later, recovery efforts involved international corporations under the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which addressed cross-border corruption cases.
1.2 Reveller Law. Number 1. Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practice Act. Stop assume of power by public official. Makes bribery illegal. Number 2. Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. Makes stealing government money a crime. Number 3. Unite National Convention Against Corruption. International law to fight corruption. Helps recover stolen money from another country.
Now I'm going to talk about implication. So on this slide, you can see the implication on individual. Ferdinand Marcos experienced on a serious loss of reputation and public trust after the corruption allegations were exposed. He and his family faced investigation and legal action related to hidden wealth. Due to public protests, Marcos was forced into exile, which marked a major political downfall. The recovery of assets also affected the financial standing of the Marcos family. These consequences show that corruption can lead to a long-term personal damage even for powerful leaders. Next, I'm going to talk about government and institutions. So the scandal weakened the credibility of the Philippine government. Public institutions were seen as less transparent and less accountable. The case exposed weak check and balance and flaws in government system. As a result, citizens became more critical of leadership and demanded stronger accountability. They demonstrate how corruption can damage trust in public institutions. Finally, the slide presents the impact of the country and society. So the misuse of public funds contribute to economic instability and increased inequality. The international image of the Philippines was negatively affected. Public protests and political unrest reflected citizen dissatisfaction with corruption. Overall, the case showed that how the corruption does not only affect leaders but also show that national development and weaken social unity.
Now I'm going to talk about steps to address corruption. One of the largest political corruption cases in modern history involved Ferdinand Marcos, who ruled the Philippines from 1965 to 1986. During his rules, large accounts of public funds were allegedly misused for personal benefits. Because the corruption was widespread, strong corrective actions were needed to restore public trust. After he was removed from power in 1986, the government created the Presidential Commission on Good Government (PCGG) to investigate ill-gotten wealth, recover stolen assets, and prosecute those involved. Billions of dollars were eventually recovered, although the process was slow and legally complex. The government, who works with foreign countries to freeze overseas bank accounts, include Swiss accounts, and seized luxury assets. This international cooperation helps return part of the stolen wealth. At the same time, democratic institutions were restored, constitutional checks and balances were strengthened, and media freedom was expanded to improve accountability and prevent the concentration of power. Next, I'm going to talk about lesson learned. The corruption case of Ferdinand Marcos teaches governments several important lessons. It showed that when political power is highly concentrated and there is a weak oversight, large-scale corruption can occur and remain hidden for many years. From this case, 4 key lessons stand out: transparency, accountability, ethical leadership, and international cooperation. First, transparency is essential. During the Marcos era, many financial decisions were not openly disclosed, which allowed public funds to be misused without early detection. Government should adopt open budgeting, public reporting, and digital financial system so citizens can monitor how public money is spent. Greater transparency makes corruption harder to hide. Second, strong accountability mechanisms are crucial. When checks and balances are weak, leaders and their allies can abuse power without consequences. Independent courts, active legislative oversight, free media, and strong anti-corruption agencies help ensure that wrongdoing is investigated and punished. Third, ethical leadership matters. Even with law in place, corruption can still happen if leaders do not set a good examples. Leaders must promote integrity, enforce clear codes of conduct, and show zero tolerance for corruption. Finally, international corruption is vital. Much of the stolen wealth was hidden overseas, and recovering it requires cooperation with foreign governments. This shows that cross-border legal support and asset freezing are essential in fighting high-level corruption today. Thank you.
To conclude, this case study clearly showed that corruption has serious and long-lasting effect on a country. The Ferdinand Marcos case demonstrates how the abuse of power can negatively impact both the economic and society as a whole. When leaders misuse their authority, public resources are wasted, development is slow, and social inequality increase. At the same time, corruption causes people to lose trust in the government, making it difficult for leaders to gain public confidence. This case also highlights how weak accountability and poor enforcement of law allow corruption to continue for many years. Therefore, strong leadership, transparency, and integrity are essential to prevent corruption and protect public interests. Overall, this case reminds us that fighting corruption is crucial for ensuring fairness, stability, and a better future for society.